I would say AI is a fairly scalable answer. It's not like buying a tank or an aircraft carrier or something like that. So unless you are a minor nation state, you don't need to have it. So it is fairly scalable. So as a solo creator, like I said, just getting those initial vibes of what sort of content should I do, how should I do marketing, it's a great product for that. But as you start scaling out and you have many more team members, many channels, many places where content is going, lots of campaigns running in parallel, that's when you might want to continue using AI, but maybe invest a little bit more in making it know a little bit about your system so that you aren't having it spit out generic stuff that on day one it was doing. Over time you wanted to get better and learn more about how you work, what you are trying to do as a business. So something that has more and more context about your business, that is how I would do it.
Welcome to the AI Marketing Navigator, where we simplify AI marketing to keep you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by Digital Pop, delivering AI marketing automation so your small business thrives. Here's your host, Alex Carlson.
That's an amazing use case. Pulling in all of those images and then just being able to visually break them down like that, incredible. Let's talk a little bit more about the data side of things now, because that's what I really want to get into, especially with Rocketium. First, your platform really emphasizes the importance of data guiding the creative decisions that marketing teams are making. How has the relationship between data and creativity evolved in marketing? Has there been, I think we've seen rises and falls in the analytical side of marketers adopting.
Of course.
You were mentioning so many good data points that things like the call outs and the price call outs. Are there certain kinds of data that you have found to be most valuable in informing creative decisions? Is it the images and what's being included in the images? Is it the copy? Is it that first word of the, what are the creative insights that you guys have pulled out and have found particularly useful with Rocketium?
Yeah, so because most of our customers are in the retail space,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of insights seem to be similar and trending along similar lines around having discounts or focusing on taking action and buying something, adding it to cart and so on. But more generally, what we have done at Rocketium is to say that certain kinds of information is important to extract so that you can see its impact on decision making by users. So we call them lenses. We have a few of those lenses. For example, the product lens, branding lens, messaging, anything around layout and styles. Within that, then there are further attributes that we extract. For example, branding is not just about whether you have your logo or not. It's about how large the logo is, where is it positioned, if it's a video, where is it coming, do you have partners logo along with it to maybe create credibility or whatever else that might be. So these are all the things that are being extracted. So the one thing that we have learned is that these are standard things that need to be included in your analysis. And later you might find that for some companies who are extremely well established, maybe you need less of the branding element because the brand is so well established. You have a certain aesthetic, certain way of messaging that immediately connects with your audience. But for some others, it could be. So these lenses, some have more impact while some have less. But the idea is that these are the standard ones that we have seen have an impact on the end visual. And when it comes to specific things that work, in most cases, we have seen that especially at a time like this where money is on top of mind for everyone, but we all want that dopamine hit of shopping. Having something related to discounts and offers or new product launches, those kinds of things work the best. And the other day I was doing this analysis for one customer. And just because we have this AI copilots, is very easy to ask these kinds of questions. We found that for that customer, very short copy of fewer than 50 characters worked a lot better than every other kind of copy, which for them earlier, there was no way to analyze this. But with tech like this, it's very easy to do that.
Amazing. The level of detail that you guys are extracting, I can't think of a question you might not be able to ask with or answer with the analytics of Rocketium. And I was going to ask you what surprising correlations you may have discovered, but it sounds like with your client just the other day, you found one with the character length of their ads. I want to dive a little bit more into the branding area of measurement in Rocketium. I find that particularly interesting because traditionally in marketing and data, brand and brand awareness has been one of the cloudy gray areas of data and analytics that you just pour money into and assume that there's an ROI there and things like that. So I'm particularly interested in that and in the long term nature of it. And you talked about some of the elements that you would incorporate in the branding. Can you pick out a few more metrics for us that are particularly important for measuring long term brand impact?
Yeah, so um, because the kind of campaigns that our customers are running, it's hard for us to know the more long-term impact of some of these campaigns. A lot of them are frankly just running on this treadmill of performance
Mm,
that make content, put it out, see what's working, quickly churn out and make changes. So frankly, I don't know too much about the long-term impact of some of these things. What I can tell you is that there is going to be this tension between creative and performance, which means what something should look like or what
mm-hmm,
the brand is trying to say versus somebody just wanting an outcome. And so what we have tried to do in here is with analytics and the creative side, there is a very interesting path in the middle which we call brand safety, which is that as you're making content, we are able to automatically check different elements within that because you're composing the copy and the images, the if it's a video, then other elements of that, whether it's music or voiceover, those kinds of things. Every one of those elements we can check against your brand's guidelines, against performance best practices, so that before you hand it over to somebody so that they could review it, maybe 30, 50, 70% of the checks are automatically done.
mm,
There are standard things like accessibility. How big is something so that somebody can read it? How complex is the language for it to make sense to somebody? Is there enough contrast between the foreground and background so that you could even see it, right? These are some things that you could say are branding elements, you could say they are more performance elements. It's really hard to say over a long term whether these kinds of things make your brand successful or not successful, and frankly Rocketium hasn't been around that much to comment on that. But we do see the value of saying that it's not just about performance. Our
mm-hmm.
brand stands for something. We want it to look a certain way. We want to sound a certain way. Results be damned. Maybe not so much, but we do care about how we come across to our customers because we don't. If ChatGPT said our copy has to be buy now and every advertiser is putting buy now, how do we stand out? What's different about us? So some companies have a strong voice, and at least this is how we are bringing both of those worlds together.
Love it. The more I learn about Rocketium, the more I am falling in love with it, and can't wait to check it out a little bit more. Let's talk about teams actually implementing AI not only into the marketing analytics, but their creative processes and their creative department. Can you talk a little bit about a recommended approach for beginning marketing teams, whether it's Rocketium or AI uh, tools in general? Where can they get quick wins in early adoption phases, and kind of where should a marketing team start with AI content creation?
Yeah, so let me start with a more general approach first and then share some tactical things because the tactical things might not apply for everyone. So, as a general process, what I have found to work the best is first, you need to look at your entire process, figure out what are the broad steps within it. Raising a brief, making a piece of design, making content versions, doing a review, making it ready for the platforms, deploying it, doing the analysis. Maybe that's your process. Maybe you go one level deeper than that as well, which is renaming files, compressing, whatever it might be. As you look at that, it becomes very obvious to you where the pain is. It's like a doctor going through with this little hammer of theirs and like, does it hurt here? Does it hurt? And at some of those points, you're going to scream, right? That's my recommendation, that is where you should see if AI can help in some way. Any tools, Rocketium, something else that you might find useful. You want to solve that problem first because any system is as good as the weakest link. You get rid of that, it becomes a lot stronger. So that's really how I would apply AI in the beginning. Having said that, AI today is getting really really good at the probabilistic stuff. What I mean by that is asking it, I don't know if you know about the strawberry test, but
Mm-hmm.
asking AI how many of the
Ours.
letter R
Mm-hmm.
are there in strawberry, it could get it wrong. Or the canonical example was doing human hands, for example, how many
Mm-hmm.
fingers and so on. So those kinds of things where there is a factual answer or you wanted to do a 2 plus 3 and so on, it could get that wrong. But probabilistic stuff where you just want vibes, that what should this audience feel, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do it so and so thing, what should I try, hey give me 5 or 6 explorations of designs. That's really where AI is really really good. So if you have concepts that you want to iterate, doing that with a person and asking them, hey, spend the next 3 months coming up with 20 new design ideas for 10 of my audiences speaking 3 languages, that's too much work. Why don't you give them that first cut with AI so that they could then take that and refine and sharpen it and really make it so maybe the first 80%, 60% AI is doing, and then the refinement and sharpening and tuning is what people are doing with the tools that they have access to. That is how I would recommend.
Great advice. I really like it. Let's talk about like the next stage of the business now. You've talked a little bit about how oftentimes marketers or marketing teams, brands specifically, need to kind of move beyond just the off-the-shelf AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it might be, and look into maybe building custom internal AI models or training internal AI models. And I know they're cut here. Can you at what point do you think a brand or a company, maybe let's use retail as an example. If I'm just starting a Shopify store with a few products, do I need a custom solution, or at what point does a brand need to look into having a custom solution? If I'm just a solo content creator, do I need a custom solution? Can you give us some insight into when that needs to be incorporated or considered?
Yeah, so I would say AI is a fairly scalable answer. It's not like having buying a tank or an aircraft carrier or something like that. So unless you are a minor nation state, you don't need to have it. So it is fairly scalable. So as a solo creator, like I said, just getting those initial vibes of what sort of content should I do, how should I do marketing, it's a great product for that. But as you start scaling out and you have many more team members, many channels, many places where content is going, lots of campaigns running in parallel, that's when you might want to continue using AI, but maybe invest a little bit more in making it know a little bit about your system so that you aren't having it spit out generic stuff that on day one it was doing. Over time you wanted to get better and learn more about how you work, what you are trying to do as a business. So something that has more and more context about your business, that is how I would do it. And then of course there are dedicated software that package all of this AI so that it's not just AI, but also it becomes a system of record for the content that you've made, campaigns you have run, the data that you have. So that might be for more advanced and larger teams.
Thanks for listening to the AI Marketing Navigator. Ready to simplify your own marketing automation? Digital Pop helps make it happen so your small business can scale your marketing fast. Learn more at thedigitalpop.com.